How important is pronunciation for you? I would like to start this video by saying that it is okay to have an accent, and everyone has an accent, especially with languages like Spanish, English, because they're so widespread, they're everywhere, so many different accents already. So it is okay if you also have an accent. I think the goal should be, am I understood by natives? Can I communicate with them? English and Spanish are very different languages when it comes to phonetics. When it comes to their phonology, they're so different. So I think you should work on your pronunciation, because the natural thing to do when you're learning a second language is to use the sounds that you have in your native language in that second language. But the thing is that sometimes even the same sound is articulated differently, and that's what makes your accent strong. If you've decided that you want to work on your accent, that's great. I mean, personally, working on my accent grew my confidence a lot. If this is you want to work on your accent because you want to feel more confident, because you want to feel understood, and maybe you want to get complimented, because it's always nice to get complimented on your accent. So this video is for you. A question I get asked a lot is, should I pick an accent? And my answer is yes. Please do. Pick an accent just like you pick a language variety. But please get input from different accents, because remember that you choose your accent, but then you're going to meet people from different places. Before I started university, I felt very self-conscious about my accent. When you're learning a second language, if you don't pay attention to pronunciation, you might not even be aware of it. You might be like, but what's American? What's an American accent? What's a British accent? And that's okay, and that's normal. So that was what it was like for me. I didn't know. And so I started university with a bit of a mix of British and American. And I ended up sticking to a British accent. One of the reasons why is that I love it. But I took English phonology at university, and there I learned RP, I learned received pronunciation, and that's why I stick to this one. But that doesn't mean that you should stick to it as well. If you're learning English, for example, you can do American accent, you can do British accent, like it doesn't really matter. Just choose the one you like and don't listen to what others tell you, because really, if you choose the one you like, you will enjoy it more. Now there are words that I cannot say, like for the life of me, I cannot say them in an American accent, whereas before maybe I could, but because I'm so used now. So yeah, just choose the one you like most and work on it. The first tip I'm going to give you is listen actively and try to identify these sounds. So these sounds, some of them are going to be quite foreign to you, probably sounds that you don't have in your native language. So try to identify them, and every time you're listening, try to spot them and be like, oh, there's that sound. So first, identify them, because if you cannot perceive it, if you cannot perceive the sound, it's going to be quite difficult for you to produce it. Once you've got your sounds identified, I want you to record yourself. When you start, it's super awkward. Even now I'm speaking to the camera, and if I really think about it, it's quite awkward. But just record yourself and then listen to it. If you don't want to record yourself, you can also speak to yourself in the mirror. That also works, but the idea is that you work on those sounds. My third tip is find a tutor that can give you feedback. So you could practice conversation in class and then let them know that what you want to work on is your pronunciation, so you actually know what you are lacking and what you need to work on. You could also ask them to give you activities. So for example, to record yourself and then you send it to them and you get feedback as well. So you get feedback from the class, but then you also have this homework that's very specific to your needs. This is why I always like to understand my students' needs in the very first meeting we have. I like to ask them, what do you want to work on? Like, what are your goals? Because if you tell me you want to work on your pronunciation, I will design a plan for you so you can actually get there with me, because I know how lonely it can feel. Learning a language can feel very lonely, and also that you're not making progress. So if you come to me and tell me that you want to work on your pronunciation, I will provide you with feedback, and I will also give you the materials you need. I hope, any teacher, any tutor that is passionate about what they do, they will also help you with whatever you need, whether it is pronunciation, writing, grammar, doesn't matter what it is. But the moment you start working with a tutor, they will see what you need. But if you tell them, that's always helpful, because not everyone has the same goals and not everyone wants to work on the same thing. So that's why personally I really value this communication with my students. Tip number 4 is learn about connected speech. I vividly remember when I learned this at university, and it was mind-blowing. I was like, wow, this totally makes sense. This is why I always feel like I'm not natural when I speak. This is why I always feel like it doesn't flow, the language doesn't flow. And it's because you haven't worked on this, you haven't worked on connected speech. You have a specific pronunciation for a word, but we don't use words in isolation. It's like with vocabulary, we use words in context. If you only learn pronunciation of a word, then when you actually speak, you're going to feel like the words don't flow, and it's because you don't have that knowledge. Do some research on connected speech. You'll find about assimilation, elision. It's just the idea that when we speak, we sometimes make certain sounds so that the language flows. This is something I'm very, very passionate about, and I would love to help you. So let me know, and I'll make a video giving you some examples, because I know it can be a bit confusing with just the theory, but it is really, really interesting. Tip number 5 is practice mouth and tongue exercises. So you can do this on YouTube. There are loads of videos on YouTube. I remember this is something my professor told us, that it is really useful to pay attention to how native speakers move their mouth. Try to find these videos on YouTube and do exactly the same thing they are doing. Something interesting about this, because we articulate differently in different languages. When I have to say a word in a foreign language, I'm like articulating in Spanish, like all of the sounds, all of the words, and then all of a sudden there is a word in English, and I'm like, because I need to stop. So I always feel quite awkward, and I try at all costs. I really try. I don't want to say foreign words, because I'm like, what do I do? Because if I mispronounce them, then I feel awkward. But if I say them right, I also feel awkward. So I never know what to do, so I don't use them. And it's quite bad, because nowadays, especially in Spanish, we use English words more and more. And I'm like, no, please, I want to use a Spanish word. But yeah, I don't know if someone else feels like this as well. Practice a lot and try to follow all of these tips, and I'm sure you will improve your accent. This is something anyone can do. The people you see that have a good accent now, they also used to have a bad accent, so it's okay. And I'm Spanish, and I know that for an English speaker, I will always sound a bit Spanish, but I'm okay with that because I do speak another language. So practice a lot and don't be too hard on yourself. If you have some specific ideas for videos about pronunciation, let me know as well, because I do love this subject and it really helped me with my confidence when speaking English. So I would love to help you too if this is something you want to work on.